What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Code Peterson tutorial. We're doing some more GB Studio. In our previous tutorial, we learned how to make a heads-up display with tile swapping. Now, the demonstration I gave before, each variable can only be to a value up to 255. I had a few questions be asked of me. One of them, how come we can only go up to 255, which is a good question. The second question was, how would we be able to have a scorekeeper go above that if we wanted to? I'm going to try to do my best to answer both of those questions today. So to begin with the first question, why can we only be at 255? This is just my hypothesis why. If we use these cards on this web page to represent binary code, and typically you're going to have your binary code group into 8 bits to have a byte of information. And if we say that these black cards represent 0, and when the cards are flipped over, they are a 1, each one of these cards is assigned a value. So the first one on the far right hand side is 1, then the next one is 2, then the next one is 4, and it doubles each time we go up to the top. So our maximum number here is 128. And if all of these cards are face down, that would be like saying this would be a binary code number of 00000000, so all zeros. If we add up those values that are showing, none of them are showing, so that would be 0. Now, if our binary code number was 0000000001, in this case, the far right number is showing up and it has a 1 on it, so that would be worth 1. If we did this 001, 00001, this one here has the value of 32, this one here has the value of 1, and that's going to give us the total of 33. It's just easier for coders when we have these numbers that are grouped into groups of 8. And it's just because 8 can be cut into half, and then the half of 8 can be cut into half. It's just a good number for coding and for mathematical reasons. Now, if we have the binary code of 11111111, those 8 ones, if we add all of these numbers up, we have 255. That is why I'm assuming they have it to where we can only have 255, because that way each variable would be 1 byte of information. Hopefully that kind of helps answer in kind of using some summaries of it, and kind of simplifying it down, but hopefully that kind of helps you to see why. Now, the second part, can we show a score on here that is greater than 255? And yes, we absolutely can. We just have to attack it differently. So to show you what I have here, I did go to my backgrounds here. I did create a number tile sheet that goes up from 0 to 9. That's different than our last one because our previous tutorial I only went up to 3. And then the other thing that I did was I made a level 1 HUD 3 digits. And on here you can see what that looks like in there. It's basically the same thing I did last time. I just modified it and we have 3 numbers on there. All right, now if you look closely on this picture that I made, you'll see I have these little dots or these little pixels kind of shaded, and they're each in a different spot. You remember last time when we were talking about tile swapping, you have to have unique tiles in order to switch them. So in this case, if I just had 3 zeros on there and I went to change the first or the 0 in the 1 spot, then it's going to go straight from 000 to 111, and the next one's going to show 222, then it's going to show 333. because it's treating all those tiles the same. So my kind of workaround for that in this was having 3 zeros up here, but you could see the pixel on this 0 in the 100th spot. I put the pixel in the bottom left-hand corner. This one here, I moved the pixel to the second from the left on that bottom row there. And then this one here, of course, you can see I moved the pixel on the bottom all the way to the far right. So that makes these three, even though they look pretty close to the same sprite, they are in fact different because I have that one pixel in a different spot highlighted on there. All right, that's the setup for this. Now, what I did for this demonstration, I made this dinosaur stand still, and then when I jump on it, it deactivates, disappearing from the screen. It adds 1 to a point, and then after about a second or so, then it reactivates and it shows up there. So then I can just continue to jump on it to show you how this works. So with that dinosaur selected, and it says on hit with player, and I needed to make sure that, if I come into collision with this and my altitude is higher than the dinosaurs, then it destroys that dinosaur. That the collisions for that is from another tutorial that I've done. If you haven't watched those, you may want to go back and check those out. But this is just kind of one way that you can do this. So I created a variable, a global variable called ones. And so I said, when I jump on top of that dinosaur, my character is going to bounce off of it and the dinosaur is going to deactivate. And then I'm adding a value of 1 to ones on there. And you can get this block by searching for that when you go to add event and you find math functions and you bring it in, then you can just click on these. So variable is ones. And if you will probably have to click this drop down menu and find the next available global variable. So whether it be 7 or 1 or whichever one, you could click on that. And then you get this little pencil here. And then I renamed it from like variable 5 or whatever it was. I switched it to ones. And then the operation is going to be adding a value, and I'm going to add 1. And I check marked on here clamp value between 0 and 255. So I jump on this enemy, and it's going to add 1 to a variable that I called ones. All right, and then in here, I put in this if ones is greater than or equal to 10. And this again was something I got from adding an event, and you can search for compare variable to value. And then you can select your variable you created and input that information. Then underneath it, I created another variable, another global variable that I called tens. And what I am doing here is another math function is I'm taking the global variable of tens that I created and I'm adding the value of 1 to the tens. And then I'm setting the value of ones back to 0. All right, so you can kind of see where this is going here. This number is hundreds. This number is tens. This numbers are ones. And once this gets up to 10, this number is going to, because I can only show one digit at a time, I'm going to add 1 to the tens, which should make this a 1. And then where this was a 9, once it becomes equal to 10, then this is going to switch back to a 0. And that's going to continue on. So that's for the 1 spot. Underneath that, then I did the same thing with the if compare a variable to a value. And I said if tens is greater than or equal to 10, Then I'm going to add 1 to a variable that I created called hundreds. And the operation is me adding a value of 1. And then I'm going to set the tens value to 0. So you can do this as many places as you would like. I only did it to the hundreds on here, so you could kind of see how it works, but obviously it's really repetitive with that. Um, Once we get down here, then what happens, because mine is only going to go to the hundreds, and I don't want anything weird to happen, so I'm just going to cap my score at 999. So on here it says if hundreds is greater than or equal to 9, then in this case, I am going to set the hundred spot to 9, and I'm going to have the tens equal to 9, and I'm going to have the ones equal to 9. So once, that gets up to 1,000, it's just going to say 99 on there. And if you think back to, like Tetris for the original Nintendo, where you have all these people breaking Tetris because they've gotten the highest score possible, and the game just freezes because that's all the memory it can. That's just part of that gaming, is finding ways to work around those kind of things. Um, Once I have all those parts on there, then just like we did last time, I needed to go down here and add references. And I added my numbers tile sheet, which is my tile sheet I made that has my numbers uh, 0 through 9 on it. And then I made a variable and added it in here for ones. And then this is where I added my variable for tens. And then this is where I added my variable for hundreds. Now, in the script here, I'm using the same one we did in our previous tutorial. I just have it 3 times in here. So I have my VM underscore replace underscore tile underscore XY, and the 00 is going to be my hundred spot up here. And then because of that, I set it equal to the variable hundreds. And if that doesn't really make sense to you, if you didn't watch last tutorial, just go back and watch the other one I made for the heads-up display using tile swapping. For the second value on here, replacing tile XY of 1, 0, because we start with the first spot is 0, the second one is 1. So that's our tens. So then I set it equal to variable tens, or var tens. And then the last one, the 2, 0, 1, 2, that's my third number, and that is my variable for the ones. Then underneath that, I did wait for a second and then reactivate it, the actor that is in there. Now to try this out, I'll push play on here to show you how this works. To the game, and you can see we have our zeros with kind of the weird pixel information on there. I jump on the dinosaur, and once I did that, then these numbers changed, and they're now to the numbers from my sprite sheet of numbers that I created. And we're not going to run into that problem where they override each other and all that. So I'll keep jumping on this dinosaur just to show you what happens when we get to 10. So there's 9. Now we're to 10. And then it counts up that way. And there it is. That's kind of the workaround. Hopefully that explains why do we have to work around that silly 255 number. It's not random. It's just because that's what a byte of data can get us. And I think it's convenience for making this awesome program for us to use. And the second part, can we make values or scores on here that are more than 255? Absolutely. We just need to have each one in the correct spot, whether it's the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, and so forth and so on. Hopefully this helps out with your games and making those as fun as you can have them be. Let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if this was helpful or if I need to address it further. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll catch you on another video.